We must have talked about it because I remember it. Yeah, I remember a lot of things, but I just can't place where I remember it from. So it doesn't do me a lot of good. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Tabletop Coffee. This is Chuck Rogers. He is a licensed professional counselor and a licensed marriage and family therapist.
This is my very good friend Keith Don, and he is a network engineer. And we are Tabletop Coffee together, and each week we talk about how to do life, do it well.
Being bold and never ever bitter.
Yeah. And tonight we're going to talk about how to change the other person's behavior, especially as it relates to your children. So hang in, we'll talk about it. You know, the rule of thumb is that when you're setting limits with children, you abuse it, you lose it.
Right, exactly.
That's the rule of thumb.
Right.
You abuse it, you lose it.
Mm-hmm.
And when my son Sam, who's now 23, was really young, he had this thing, he would get fixated on stuff.
Okay.
You know, it was the Barney's video, you just watch those endlessly.
Over and over.
Sesame Street.
Lindsay was A Bug's Life.
Yeah, it's just all these things, you watch these over and over and
That's
over
right.
and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And kids oftentimes will get fixated on certain things. And one of the things that Sam got fixated on was a particular piece of clothing. It was red sweatpants.
Okay.
I mean, he's just this really little guy, preschooler. And Kim was very accommodating for him to try to, make sure that he had these red sweatpants to wear almost all the time. But occasionally would wash them, and she'd dry them quickly and have them back because it was just important to him.
Right.
And eventually the knees got worn out. They were just holy. And one time they were dirty and weren't going to be clean in time for her to be able to go with Sam. And he was throwing this fit. He would just not relent. And she was going to something, I think it was a Bible study. I can't swear to that. She was going to some event.
Right.
And he just would not get dressed. And she was fighting with him. And ended up missing this event that she was going to.
That's tough.
It is. It's disappointing.
Yeah,
you're mad,
it is.
You're sad, you missed it. And she was just at her wit's end with regard to how do you, chop that fan belt, stop that loop of infinity.
Yeah, that's right.
So she did something that was different. She tipped this domino.
Yep.
She got his red sweatpants out. He was in his room sulking.
Okay.
And she took those red sweatpants up and just cut them up into little bitty pieces.
That's great.
And she went into his room and she says to him, "You want your red sweatpants? Here they are."
Okay.
And this little guy's mouth dropped
He's
open.
like, oh my goodness,
And
what did
she
Mom
says
do?
to him, "If you ever make this kind of fuss about anything again, this is what's going to happen to them."
Okay.
And she left him, and
Yeah.
she left. And it broke that behavior. It broke that habit. It was the domino that needed to be tipped.
Yeah. It drew a line in the sand, too, and said, this is as far as we're going.
Did. Put Jean-Luc Picard, this far and no farther.
That's right.
The line must be drawn here. This far, no farther.
Yeah.
And then time passed. Years passed.
Okay.
And Sam began to have some of those obsessive qualities about certain things again. And she brought up the red sweatpants, and he didn't remember it. So she again told the story.
Right.
And just the telling of the story that time broke that behavior from continuing to happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, I'm going to add a little bit of a story to this
please,
because Lisa was so good with our kids, and she did great with the discipline side of things. But Lindsay, when she was young, she just did not want to give up her pacifier.
Yeah.
So Lisa got to a point where she just cut the little rubber end off of the
yeah.
pacifier, and there's nothing but a little nub there. And she's like,
To stop the argument, there's nothing
it's
to
broken.
argue over.
Yeah, there's nothing to argue about. It's broken. You can't have it anymore. And
That's a great one.
It worked perfectly. She tipped a domino. She did it.
Oh, wonderfully
She did a
creative.
great job with that.
Yeah. Parents oftentimes get into these pull and tug of war kinds of things. and it doesn't stop the problem, it just continues it, but now you have friction with it. So
Right.
I put this out there to encourage people to think out of the box. And we're not saying, go cut up all your kids' pacifiers or go cut up all your kids' clothes. We're just saying that sometimes you've got to do what Sheldon's mother said on The Big Bang Theory. She said, Sheldon, she says, you know what your daddy used to say? And he said, no. He said, sometimes I'm tired of fishing and it's time to throw dynamite in the water.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so
Make a
sometimes
change.
you just got to quit and do something different.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
So there you are. I encourage you to share with us your creative ideas about how to set limits with your kids. Put them in the comments below, and maybe we can share them with our followers.
Yeah, how you did something different, the domino that you tipped on that. So if you liked our content, be sure and click that subscribe button and click that bell so you're notified of upcoming episodes.
Yeah, make sure to like it too.
Yep, share it with your friends.
Thanks, everybody.
Until next time.